Hello and welcome. You are watching News 9 live. I am Krishna Kumar and I'm being joined by our political editor Bijesh Pandey and our executive editor Kartikeya Sharma in the studios. And we here at News 9 Live are continuing with our focus on Manipur and the latest in Manipur. Fresh violence has been reported from Manipur now. Sources say that the violence was reported from a village bordering Churachandpur. The violence has been reported amidst massive efforts by security forces to stabilize the law and order situation in the state. Shootings have been reported between the Meitei community and the Kukki community in the area. And the damages and the casualties are yet to be ascertained. Security forces have been deployed in large numbers, bear in mind, in the newly affected areas. And security forces have also recovered a large cache of arms and ammunition in the last few days. So the fear that armed gangs funded from both communities, Meitei and the Kukki, will be involved in this unprecedented violence has now come true. Let's first listen to all the reactions coming in and then we'll continue our coverage on Manipur.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to give thanks to Almighty God for saving us from the very bad situation. While in Manipur, we face a very bad situation because unexpectedly they start firing and they are burning the houses, car. So we were risking our life, and we are staying in CRPF force. From there also the police, the CRPF force, they are very good to us. They feed us, they give us a place to sleep. Find the place of some reform from the government. They came and saved us from Manipur. They are very good to us, they are friendly. And moreover, I also like to thanks to our Nagas people, those who are giving us very good treatment on the way. Special thanks to them and also special thanks to our government.
पता नहीं कहाँ से आया वो लोग आके एकदम जलाना शुरू कर दिया और हम लोग पीस रैली जाने वाला लड़की हो लड़का हो सारा जाके यहाँ में हम लोग ने अभी रुका और रुक नहीं पाया पूरा घर जला दिया और गन भी चलाया उसी गन एक लड़का भी अभी मौत में है सुल्तानपुर में।
आपका घर ठीक है?
अभी हमारा घर तो ठीक है, हमारा घर तो थोड़ा अंदर था, ठीक है, अभी यहाँ का कांगवाई का तुरबुंग का सब तहस महस हो गया।
I don't want to shift blame on any other person, but whatever has happened, it is known to people of Manipur, and people all over the world are watching. But it should be taken as a natural calamity. Sort of measures required in this issue, and appropriate rehabilitation should also be needed for the people, those who have become homeless. People should appropriately be the money, the property, and the life is damaged, cause loss, that should appropriately be compensated by the government. And above all, the restoration of peace is required to be established. People are in panic. People are leaving Manipur, leaving their home places. Insecurity prevailing over everywhere. Because people were not hoping such kind of situation which will happen in Manipur. Work-minded people, loving people, they used to share their love and affection in every religious function. Vice versa, community-wise functions they were attending, and smoothly Manipur was going on. But it's for the bad luck that this has happened. So we pray for the people, those who have lost their lives, and we urge upon the government for proper rehabilitation and proper relief measures.
I would say, fortunately, with the blessings of the people of our state and with God's blessing, that peace has come to Manipur, and we are almost reaching, towards normalcy. And yes, the tension that the people has been having for the last few days has drastically decreased. The confidence of the people we can see in their ways now. And yet, with minor here and there, the rumors that's been coming around, people have, accepted that this as rumors. As you can see, curfew was relaxed in most of the districts today, and people have come out. Normally, people have come out to buy their normal stuffs, whatever they need, and have gone for their, daily course that they needed to go. And but from the government side, with the surveillance is still on, we are still very making sure that there is no untoward incident. Drones are being used, helicopters are being used, and even unmanned aerial vehicles are being used across the state, so that as I've said, no untoward incident takes place. In fact, we are stressing more on the free movement of the stranded people across our state, and whatever help that needs to be given are being provided by the forces. And ultimately, and again, another thing is the recovery of arms, which we are very, very, very seriously looking at it. Yes, since yesterday, a few more arms have recovered, and it's an earnest appeal, and it's an appeal by the Honorable Chief Minister that better, please, surrender the arms. This is an appeal, it's an earnest appeal, please surrender the arms, or else the law will take its own course as per the needs. And as of now, the relief camps at smallpox, many relief camps, it's an approximately 209. And today approximately 5,300 people have been evacuated from different places at in many areas. And today the Honorable Chief Minister, he personally went to Komal Lampak, where people were being brought in, and then he interacted with the people, making sure that they have been properly checked medically. He personally intervened and to make sure that relief have been given. He also went to the Lamphel CRPF headquarters, head office, where this people are there in relief camps, to assure them that all will be fine. All needs will be taken care of by the government. All houses that have been burnt will be taken care of by the government, and to make sure that they are there, safe, sound, and in a very proper way.
Today, we got 553 people from Nagaland, back to Nagaland. But out of this 553, 50 are from other states. And out of 503 were Nagas, 263 are from Konyak. So with this, no more further requests have come to us, and we also have taken a stock. So in our opinion, bulk of the people from our state of Nagaland have come back to Nagaland. So yes, I can safely say that Operation Kohima Calling, through synergy of effort by all of us, all the stakeholders, whether it's some reference, state government, Nagaland Police, Nagaland State Transport, CSOs, especially I mentioned the Nagaland People Organization, Konyak Student Union, Konyak Union. Everything has come to an end, and that to a good end. So Operation Kohima Calling, as of now, phase 2 finishes. And those people who are stuck, 1 or 2 people, will try and see how we can get them out.
Right, fresh violence has been reported. That's what sources are telling us. And arms and ammunitions, fresh cache of arms and ammunition has been recovered. The government of Manipur has made an earnest appeal to armed groups to lay down the arms at this stage, because it is a very, very sensitive situation. Even as the situation in Manipur is improving, the reports coming from them are extremely worrisome, isn't it, Brijesh and Kartikeya? Talk to us. This fresh outbreak of violence, already it's being called that Manipur is never going to be the same again after what has already transpired.
Absolutely, and if you remember, if I may take back, because we are the people who have been covering this violence right from day one. When most of the mainstream
so-called national channels
have completely ignored it, and we have been discussing this thread
they
right
forgot
from
Manipur.
day one. and also with credible voices from the place, not like it's our own churning on what we think of the situation.
Yes.
The fact is that yes, if you remember, the DGP may at that time, making an impassioned plea, even going on to the extent of asking people who have snatched arms and all from the police station to drop them somewhere and inform the police, no action would be taken, even to that extent. Today, the DIPR minister is also making the same kind of appeal to the people that, brothers, please return the arms which you have taken, otherwise law will take its own course. But it looks like the law will take its own course threat is definitely not working. And I think, going by this fresh bout of violence which happened in Molangai village near Kamwai bordering Churachandpur, which is kind of the epicenter of all this violence which we are witnessing and unrest, is something which clearly indicates that, that what we have been discussing, that the peace at best is a very, very fragile peace.
Oh, absolutely.
And it is peace which has been brought under the gun of 128 units of Indian Army and Assam Rifles and RAF, which are being posted there to ensure that the situation doesn't spiral out of control.
Absolutely.
And looks like, that they have to be stationed there for a lot more time before, the situation actually becomes normal.
I think this violence is far more deeper, pervasive and in the rural areas than people have imagined. These are the fresh visuals which we have got. When Mr. Bhombik joins us, Dada joins us, we'll ask him, whenever he joins us, we'll ask him why Churachandpur is the epicenter. What is happening in Churachandpur? Churachandpur violence happening again and again is something which needs to be addressed.
Yes.
And that violence and that Churachandpur has become center. But my issue is, before we get to Churachandpur, before we start telling you about the violence and these pictures which are being played there, I think there is some economic package which needs to be announced for Manipur. Manipur needs economic help now. If you look at these visuals, if you look at the people traveling, I think Manipur will not be able to take the burden. It requires some financial injection. 5,000 people evacuated today. How many people are being evacuated? It means that thousands of people have been displaced.
Well, till now, I think the figure would be touching somewhere close to 50,000.
This is not pandemic.
Very, very powerful
Yeah.
visual.
This is not pandemic.
Seriously.
Look at this child. Look at this. This is not pandemic. This is India. And this is happening. People are getting
These are
displaced.
visuals of people who become refugees in their own
Yes,
states.
people are becoming refugees in their own states. You cannot be putting them in shelters and refugee camps. Manipuris are not refugees in their own state. They need to be provided housing. These are temporary. I am aghast to see these visuals,
Absolutely, I
which
couldn't
just
agree
tells
more.
us it's such a national press has not covered this. It is tip of the iceberg. The entire state has been affected. Social harmony has been affected. The churches have been burned. Places of worship of other religion have been burned. Complete collapse of administration. And I think that this is not. Police action is one part, Krishna. I think what Manipuris requires some sort of financial help. Ghar jal gaye logo ke, itna sab ho gaya hai. It's not about 2 June ki roti.
But Kartikeya, also have to understand that this is happening primarily because of lack of trust in the law and order situation. Until and unless the law and order situation is restored, until and unless the law and order situation is stabilized, Kartikeya, we will keep on seeing these horrifying
Yeah,
visuals.
it's like a
That is the-
volcano erupting again and again.
Absolutely. That first step and the most important step, Kartikeya, has to be that this law and order situation does not spiral out of control. These firings and these guns, I think the bigger challenge for the government, more than what we are seeing are on our screen, is the challenge to recover all the guns which have been looted by people. That is a very, very big challenge, and that is the reason, Krishna, if you see, the DIPR minister, the DGP, other also important people are making impassioned pleas for those to return the gun. And this is, what people, right from, Yashovardhan Azad to others, you have been saying right from day one that the fear is that many of these weaponry could have fallen hand to the underground elements, and that is one catastrophe which we are staring
Right,
at.
and that's the kind of situation that you actually have in a Naxal hit area, where arms get taken by the Naxals,
and where arm is more important than the life of the person from which you are
exactly. So this is it's one of the worst situations that could possibly happen. Manipur is going through it at this stage. We're bringing you live non-stop coverage of it with the renewed focus. We have Jangkholam Haokip activist from Churachandpur, from where this entire violent outbreak began. Joining us on the phone line, Jankolam Haokip, we are hearing that there are fresh outbreaks of violence. Shootings have been reported. Talk to us, if you can confirm this for us. What is the latest that you can tell us about the ground situation in Churachandpur?
In defense of the village, one of the defender was shot and was brought to Churachandpur hospital. And so we are wondering whether we are in India or somewhere else. Is Article 355 being imposed? Who is taking in control of law and order? We need to safeguard the civilians, the people who have no way to defend themselves. You're talking about the guns being snatched away during the conflict. I also want to ask, what about the licensed guns the villagers have, which the government has ordered to submit before the incident? At least those licensed guns return to the villagers so that they can protect themselves. If Indian government cannot protect the villagers, you should give the licensed guns so that the villagers can protect themselves. This is a human rights issue. We cannot reach out to the outside world. Internet is disconnected. We cannot send WhatsApp messages. So therefore, we are dying. I went to hospital this morning. So many deaths are there, and so many people are suffering in the hospital. And most of the casualties in the hospital are from the relief camps. There's no water, there's no food, they don't sleep. Therefore, the children they are hospitalized. So this is an urgent issue that the government has to look into. I appreciate Indian government, the paramilitary. We have cooperated them, helped them to restore peace. But that is not enough. It's not enough. We need a neutral army arrangement, and also please provide protection for the villagers. We cannot sleep in the night. It's not safe.
Mr. Haokip,
so, please.
Mr. Haokip, our chat box is on. Lot of people are asking questions. I am putting one question to you. Some people on our YouTube chat box are saying that the violence which has taken place in Churachandpur, some outsiders were involved. Can you take this question? Now I'm taking, because these questions are coming on our chat box. So I'm directly taking questions from those who are interacting, coming to our program.
Who are the outsiders? Who are the outsiders? Who are the migrants? This is a rubbish thing. There is no religion there. There's no immigrant issue. Kukki is Kukki. We're here. We've been here since before British time. So all this are to divert the issue. The issue is the land. So our lands have been, the villages have been burned down. So 67 villages have been burned down. So where would the people go now? How will the people go now? It's not safe to go back. So this is something that Indian government has to take seriously, and they have to provide a solution peacefully so that our children should not face again in the future.
All right. Please stay with us, Jankolam Haokip. We also have Mr. Shubir Bhomik also joining us. I'm going to begin with Kartikeya as a question as well.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you so much for allowing me to ask this question to Dada. कैसे हैं आप?
बहुत बढ़िया.
Dada, thank you for joining us. Our chat box is still on. A lot of people are very happy to see you. You are an encyclopedia of what happens in Northeast. पहली चीज तो Dada, tell us, why is violence taking place in Churachandpur?
Because the issues have not been resolved. I have been telling you since the last few days that unless a definitive political step is taken in the shape of an inter-party, inter-ethnic dialogue, and everybody is brought to the table, or at least the announcement is made that everybody is brought to the table, people will continue. Because what happens now? You have deployed the army, you have deployed the condign instrument of the state, you have the police, you have paramilitary forces. They're just trying to port. You know, like when we cook and the steam comes out, We're just trying to put the lid on the cook pot. Does that mean that the steam will not come out? It will slowly start pushing upwards, and at the first opportunity, throw the lid off. So this is exactly what is happening here. The steam is there. The steam has not evaporated. People are angry. People on all sides, are having their own grievances. They have their own fears. They have their own apprehensions. Meiteis, Kukkis, even Nagas who are not sort of in this fight are worried what effect it will have on the peace process, what effect it will have, You see, now for a Meitei, when he sees some tribal, he may mistake a Naga for a Kukki and hit him. Then you know what happens? People are going to go back to the Naga church or wherever they are and say, our chap has been killed. Then they start attacking the Meiteis in the hills. So, this is how the spiral happens. This is the cascading effect.
But
So
Dada,
it's still very
in our chat box, a lot of people are saying that a lot of Myanmar nationals are caught without proper document by Churachandpur police. Do you think that it is an issue?
It's an issue, but an obvious one. What people are saying is the statement of the obvious. I kept telling you, until you understand the situation in Myanmar, you will only get a partial picture of what is happening in Manipur. Myanmar is on the boil. The two areas adjacent to Manipur, Sagaing Division and the Chin State, there is a raging insurgency there. The Chin National Front is involved. In Sagaing, the PDF or People's Defense Force Sagaing is involved. And I am in touch with them, and I get all their SITREPs, as they call it, situation reports. Every day they're attacking Burmese government. Now, when they attack Burmese army, what does the army do? The army is a raging bull. It comes into, especially the Burmese army, which is not restricted by any human rights code or anything. So they come into the villages, they attack people, they rape women, which is when these locals, they flee to India. Because of this raging issue, yesterday Rami Desai was also saying, oh, these are infiltrators. They are refugees. India has not signed a convention, 1951 Refugee Convention. But that has not stopped India from sheltering refugees. It's a humanitarian compulsion and a humanitarian commitment of the government of India, because the government of India is a civilized government, and the government of India has taken in refugees from Sri Lanka, from Bangladesh, from Tibet, what not.
Right.
So these are refugees, and they've also taken Myanmar refugees before. So these are refugees of coming. Now with this new debate about infiltration and all that nonsense, everybody seems to be a foreigner. Point is, there are Chin nationals who have come in. So long people are looking the other way. Other way, because why? Because they think that these are refugees. Government of India also thought, if you try to push them back, the locals will be annoyed. But here is a classic case of a refugee crisis being turned into an infiltration issue by people who see infiltrator under their beds, under their charpai, under their bloody sofas all the time. Because this is the big national debate and
Oh, absolutely,
so
absolutely, Dada. There is another thing which is coming. The MLA from Churachandpur, Pao Linal Hauke, has given an interview, and he said that in this interview that he has lost faith. He's a BJP MLA. He has lost faith in the government, and Krishna, he says that. So my question to you is, Brijesh, is Biren Singh going to survive this?
Well, I think Biren Singh is going to survive this, but yes, it has made situation a lot more problematic for him, because criticism coming from somebody else is another thing, and criticism coming from somebody who is MLA of your own party is another thing. It definitely raises question mark on how Manipur government has been handling this crisis right from day one. The judgment which triggered the entire outrage, the entire outburst was not anticipated. It was not properly communicated to the honorable court that it did not fall within the remit of their jurisdiction. Apart from that, when this entire tribal march was going on, there was, Krishna, I mean, the complete lack of intelligence, so that they could have put, all the wherewithal on the ground to ensure that the situation doesn't get out of control. And here we are talking about a situation, of a state which is prone to these kind of.
Are you saying that Biren Singh will survive, Brijesh? Aapko lagta hai he will survive?
As of now, going by of my experience of covering BJP and this government in particular, usually whenever anything happens, they do not sacrifice the head of that person right now, because that they say is being seen as as bound to the pressure of the place, and B, the media. But the fact is that they will be forced to take a decision, because when we are talking of this particular crisis, which is a big humanitarian crisis unfolding before us, there's also a political crisis which is there, and a part of that political crisis were in Delhi demanding dismissal or putting some pressure on Biren Singh government to Biren Singh to modify the way he's functioning.
Right. We're also being joined by Yashovardhan Azad, former director of the Intelligence Bureau. Thank you so much for being with us, sir. Talk to us. How do you view the situation? We're talking about fresh violence erupting again, even as we were moving towards a normalcy.
Well, there are two parts to this issue. Whenever we are talking about bringing the law and order under control, we had said earlier that, of course, it takes about 3 to 5 days to bring everything under control. But the mopping up operations, the residual operations which have to be done, they take a while, and you have to be very vigilant and alert. For example, I don't know about the weapons which have been taken away from the various police stations. Have they really come back or not? Whether all the persons who were sort of displaced have come back or not, because that's a kind of a simmering discontent which will continue for a while. And therefore, in the outlying areas of whether outside the city or in Churachandpur area, in the hills and these areas, it is going on. There is also the danger of the underground elements which have taken advantage of the situation. And we saw some of them brandishing weapons also in that solidarity march. So this is a vulnerable period where, things have to be watched very, very carefully. And that's why this repeat of violence which has taken place, it has to be crushed. It has to be taken very, very seriously, because this will give a kind of a counter reaction in the other places. Now, the other thing which I want to point out is that, more than a political problem, it's a human problem which is happening in Manipur. And, things have been in a ferment. The wounds have been festering. So unless any political party, the problems are not going to change. If Biren Singh changes, the situation will remain the same on ground. Whether it's the Meiteis who are demanding the ST status with some justification, and whether it is the Kukkis who are demanding the 6th schedule with some justification, they will remain. And how will you balance these two unless you have an all-party dialogue, unless you have the tribal elders coming together, unless you have everyone coming around to talks? That's the only way. So political situation will have to be found. And I think whether this government remains or goes, it doesn't matter, because the demands will be further accentuated, and somebody has to deal with it and not just take ad hoc measures like putting boots on ground or giving some sops here and there. So I do hope there is something very, very seriously being thought of as a future agenda.
Right, stay with us, sir. We also have activists from Churachandpur, Jankolam Haukip, with us, telling us about the dire situation on the ground in Churachandpur, in hospitals, tribals not being able to protect themselves. Shubir Bhaumik also with us. So Shubir, talk to us, because Jankolam Haukip was just telling us that it's important that if whatever the weapons have been recovered, they should be given back to the villages in the hills, because somebody has to protect them. Because they're not being protected at this stage, and the situation in the hospitals are absolutely terrible in Churachandpur.
But Krishna, before I talk of all this, let me give a suggestion, because Azad Saab was very right in saying that some out-of-the-box thinking is required, and some measures have to be taken for it, not just boots on ground and isko pakad lo, usko pakad lo. Why can't the government and the center think of a peace march from Imphal to Churachandpur, which is led by Mary Com, and which is joined by some of the top Meitei sportsmen? Manipur is the ultimate place for sports person, especially women. And women generally are very good at bringing down tempers. Men actually create problem. There's a gender issue. So I can name at least 10 people, sports person. I can name Beena
Dada, we
Lakshmi
have 4
Nefra,
men
my
over
dear.
here on this discussion wanting peace.
Yeah, but I'm a compulsive feminist. That is what
So
all
am
my
I.
friends say.
Touche.
I'm a compulsive feminist.
Touche
That's
to
why
that, so
I'm
am I.
not very. No, 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 I'm not very happy with you guys on the forum. I would be very happy if Neha,
Dada.
my Punjabi sister, is there. So anyway, let's come back to the point.
Dada,
Jokes
I'll just
apart.
add one more point, which is part of the chat box. You know, I think you can answer that, and then Mr. Azad can also. Why has it turned into a Christian versus Hindu issue? You know, when I open my chat box, everyone says, "Ask this question."
Why are churches being burnt?
Why
How are churches being attacked?
Why has this turned into this religious issue? You answer what you are. You please complete your argument, but please also answer this. And after Mr. Azad.
Yeah, can I? The first thing is there are people here who have a religious, agenda on their head. They have a religious take for everything. These are people who are attacking each other on the basis of ethnicity. Meiteis are looking for cookies. They are going to the church because in one single place in the church, they may find 50 cookies. They are not going to search each house and look for cookies. Therefore, their churches are being attacked. And the cookies also know that if they want to find Meiteis in a group, they'll find them perhaps in a temple or some place where people out of fear may have left their house and come to the temple. Meiteis come to the church, cookies. Therefore, they want to get a lot of people in one place to attack, and they are going for temples. And it's not because somebody, in Manipur is an extra tilakdhari or an extra almond company. You know what I mean? So it's not religion which is the issue there, it is ethnicity.
Fair enough.
But आजकल ऐसा है ना कि दिल्ली से आप देखते हो वहां पर जिन लोग बैठे हैं वो हर चीज को धर्म के हिसाब से देखते हैं, तो हम क्या करें यार? अब मैं तो बंगाली हूं, मैं मुसलमान हिंदू ये नहीं देखता हूं. आई लुक एट माई सेल्फ एज ए बंगाली एंड देन एज एन इंडियन. रिलीजन ठीक है, कभी
Fair enough,
कॉलम
fair enough.
रिलीजियस.
Fair enough. Let's
So,
get back to the
in
discussion you were
religion-
having about the arms, and you were telling us, if the situation to protect the tribals in the hills is not good, but like Jankolam Haokip, the activist on this discussion, is telling us, somewhere they need to be able to protect themselves, and if some of these recovered arms can be given back to them, at least they can protect themselves.
That's a very dangerous thing because if you give them, sorry. Is it Mr. Azad speaking? Sorry.
No, carry on,
No.
Dada, there is
No,
also.
what I'm trying to.
Dada, there is
Sorry,
also one
यार
thing.
यार एक साथ इतना सवाल मत पूछो ना, एक का जवाब देने दो.
अच्छा, एक चीज और सुन लीजिए दादा, एक चीज और सुन लीजिए. जो चैट बॉक्स में आ रहा है वो लोग कह रहे हैं ओनली कुकी चर्चेस वर बर्न, नागा चर्चेस वर नॉट बर्न.
Because Nagas are not part of this fight. The fight is between Kukis and Nagas. And in Manipur, if you have been there, you will know exactly, and especially the locals know, that Falana church in Falana place is predominantly a Naga church. Sometimes one Kuki may go and pray there. But basically, Chiangmai is Naga church, this place is Kuki church. So this actually proves my point, that the churches are known by their ethnicity. Everybody is a Christian who goes to the church. But when they say, this is a Kuki church, this is a Naga church, it means they exactly know which ethnicity can be expected to be praying here. And that's why this is the target. About the weapons. Now, about the weapons, in Bengali we have a saying, Thok baste gauja. You're looking for a needle in the haystack. The trouble here is that some of these weapons have gone out through connivance. I'm 200% sure. Yeah, everywhere it was not 500 guys coming and there were 10 policemen and they ran away leaving the armory intact. Some of the weapons were given out because in the heat of the moment, some people behave ethnically and not professionally. You know what I mean? Somebody becomes a Kuki or a Meitei and forgets that he has a uniform on, which is unfortunate, but it happens. The other big thing about this mopping up of weapons and this idea that some of the weapons should be given to people to protect themselves. Trouble is, you give me a weapon to protect myself and I am an angry man because I have lost some people from my village in the fight who belong to my ethnicity. Now, you give me this weapon to defend myself. Whenever I find a other ethnic guy who is actually attacked and killed people here, and I find him alone, I'll shoot him through the head. I'm not going to do it because I'm threatened. I'm going to do it because I want revenge. So the trouble is, if you give weapons are very dangerous, it cuts both ways. And Azad Sah will agree with me, with all his background, that weapons can be of a defensive nature. It may be given to somebody of a for a defensive purpose, but it can any
Let's ask
time
him
be
that.
used.
Let's ask him
No,
that.
but
Azad
any
Sahab,
time,
talk to us.
anytime it can be being used for offensive purpose. So there is a huge risk arming the civil population anywhere under any circumstances. Let the weapons be with the uniformed people. Let them know what to do, and let them try to do the best. Arming local villagers, pretty dangerous proposition.
Let's take this across to Azadji, who continues to be with us in the broadcast. Tell us, in terms of the weapons situation, how do you read it, and what do you think is the best way forward?
I'm glad, Dada has mentioned a few things which I was hinting at, that where have these weapons gone? Not all of them have come back. And that's a very, very serious thing, because it has passed hands, as he very rightly said, to not the right quarters. And the second point, which I really would strongly support him on the point, that you cannot arm local militias, because ultimately that is what is going to result to if you start giving weapons to the villagers or to the people of the valley or anywhere, because they will organize themselves in this time of unprecedented anger and divide. The other very important thing, third point, which I wanted to refer to, Karthik, is that chat box issue as to why the churches are, this is unprecedented, because so far along the line of ethnicity, this divide was going on, but this kind of burning was not there. For the underground elements, for the people, vested interests, for the people, any kind of attack on religion symbols like churches or temples means that the wound will fester for long and the divide will continue. So I would say this is a very, very highly nefarious design. And that is why I was saying that the boots on ground will only take care for a while, but the agenda should be clear. One of the outstanding suggestions have already been made, that there should be an effort joined by the state, everyone combined, the best of the sportsmen, Mary Kom, all the ladies, all the men, the sportsmen should come out on a long march. There should be an all-party dialogue. There should be a kind of a symbol of united statehood, because this is a time of getting people together. After all, the common man doesn't have an issue. That poor boxer who's 15 years old, who was left alone, as a Meitei father and a Kukki mother, and ran 15 kilometers to his safety. So, there are so many hardening signs of also humanity here. So we have to get around that and do it as soon as possible. But the weapons part have to be looked at very professionally by the police, and you can't let any weapons go away like this. They must pursue it. The DG had said in a press conference that we have seen, we know the people who have taken, and we are requesting them to deposit. If they have not done so far, they should be questioned, and you should get back everything.
Right, stay with us, sir. Stay with us. We have Jankolam Haokip, activist from Churachandpur, resident of Churachandpur, joining us on the phone line. Talk to us. We are looking at a solution like this, where the best of the best of Manipur come together and appeal to peace, because that seems to be the only way forward.
There is good suggestion, but for lasting solution of the problem, the government has to acknowledge and the rights of the tribal people in the land. All the other things like religion, refugee and all that, these are the projected to divert attention of the media and the world. But the real issue is protection of the indigenous people, the tribal people, and their land. For that, the government has to look into and bring a political solution. That is the best one, the quickest one, and the lasting peace for the region. And then the media has to be careful. There is no enmity between Kukki and Meitei as such in history. Kukkis have been, the chiefs have been protecting the kings of the Meiteis years ago. So we've been living peacefully. But this time, things have happened because it has been gradually and then step by step. And this is the last, the time has come when the people feel no longer safe, their identity, their land, and the future generation. Therefore, the tribal people need to be respected, and in the sense that they accepted by way of giving them a legal solution to the problem. And of course, the peaceful rally. If that's possible, I strongly suggested anyone can start and we follow it.
Right, Jankolam Hauke from Churachandpur, getting
Krishna,
us the
this
latest from the ground situation. Yes,
this visual.
Absolutely, these are heartbreaking visuals.
This is not pandemic. This is not state of emergency. These are Indians standing in the queue.
On their home soil.
On their home soil. Plate नहीं है इनके हाथ में, पत्ते हैं इनके पास. आप बताइए, these are Indians. Just because national press is not talking about it, ये लोग बताओ देखो पत्तों में खाना ले रहे हैं, and people are saying that normalcy has been restored, violence has been done away. You have created refugee in their own land.
Yes.
I think the financial help should be given to Manipur. If you ask me as a citizen of this country,
First, the situation
Manipur
in
needs
the relief
financial
camps
help.
have to be improved.
They don't need tents, Krishna.
Yes.
Manipuri needs houses. They need jobs there. And today it's so tragic that the whole debate has turned into church, your church, my temple, your temple. Imagine these young people who have been displaced. What sort of Manipur are they inheriting?
Banyak orang ada.
Ngang tikro pipi ngotha numit tarani bhadri ba. Mama sesa pangam dreba.
Mungkin no.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to give thanks to Almighty God for saving us from the very bad situation. While in Manipur, we face very bad situation because unexpectedly they start firing and they are burning the houses, car. So we were risking our life, and we were staying in CRPF force. From there also the police, the CRPF force, they are very good to us. They feed us, they give us a place to sleep. Find the grace of God, some referral from the Nagaland government. They came and saved us from Manipur. They are very good to us, they are friendly. And moreover, I also like to thanks to our Nagas people, those who are giving us very good treatment on the way. Special thanks to them, and also special thanks to our government.
पता नहीं कहाँ से आया, वो लोग आके एकदम जलाना शुरू कर दिया और हम लोग पीस रैली जाने वाला लड़की हो लड़का हो सारा जाके यहाँ में हम लोग ने अभी रुका और रुक नहीं पाया, पूरा घर जला दिया और गन भी चलाया. उसी गन एक लड़का भी अभी मौत में है सुल्तानपुर में.
आपका घर ठीक है?
अभी हमारा घर तो ठीक है, हमारा घर तो थोड़ा अंदर था, ठीक है. अभी यहाँ का कांगवाई का तुरबुंग का सब तहस में हैसे हो गया.
Banyak orang ada.
Ngang tikro pipi ngotha numit tarani bhadri ba. Mama sesa pangam dreba.
Heartbreaking visuals from, this is the capital city of Manipur we were talking about over here, Imphal. This is not even the interior districts, we're talking about the capital city of Manipur. People standing in queues with leaves in their hands on which food is being served in relief camps. People turn into refugees in their own land. And ladies and gentlemen, we're praying for peace to return to Manipur.
I have a question for that. Dada, if we look at a discussion, for the first time, instead of people using the word I am a Manipuri, it is turning into a Kukki issue, Naga issue, Meitei issue, Chin issue, turning into issues of ethnicities. I am not seeing people talking about using the word Manipuri in the chat box, It slightly disturbs me as a journalist that I only see these words. Well, how do you define Manipur, Dada? Or how do you define a Manipuri if all wants to be a Kukki or a Naga or a Zo? How do you do that?
Well, the trouble here is that when the ethnic fractures take over, the common identity of the state is at stake. Sorry, takes bloody phones. So when the social fabric of the state goes for a toss and is fractured so badly along ethnic lines, it is only expected that people will identify themselves as, Kukki or Naga. I'm telling you, I'm a very patriotic man. I went to a military school. But I'm also a proud Bengali. If I get hammered in Assam, which has happened once in a while, then my Indian identity subsides and my Bengali identity comes up. You know why? Because I'm a Bengali, I've been hammered here. When somebody tells me Kala Bengal, that is when, I'm angry, and I think it's because I'm a Bengali. And, this has happened to us in 1980s when we were junior journalists before the students. You go for an admission to a college in Assam, they tear your mark sheet and say, Kala Bengal, good job. Bloody Bengali, get out of this place. So then you realize that you are being attacked because you are a Bengali. And therefore, you then identify yourself totally on the basis of your ethnicity and all other identities. Identities are multi-layered. Identities create imagined communities, as Benedict Anderson has said. Therefore, this can change. I'll just give you an example. Nagas, Kukkis, they were fighting in 1990s. I went to a beer pub in Bangalore, 20 feet high. Concept was, like the tribal sort of macham. And I found people who look like, Northeasterners. And I asked them, I found 6 Kukkis and 4 Nagas there. At a time when their militia groups were fighting in Manipur, these people were working in harmony. There was even an affair between a Naga and a Kukki, a boy and a girl. And they were then identified themselves as Manipuris and more so as Northeasterners. That because we are Northeasterners, we are different from the mainland, quote unquote. We are not the local Kannadigas, we are not other Indians. We are different, we have a different type of face. And therefore they would stick together. And they would say, I asked them, where are you from? Sir, I'm from Northeast. First answer. Second boy, we are from Northeast. Sir, we are all from Northeast. I said, where from Northeast? Sir, Manipur. Are Manipur kahan? Sir, I am from Churachandpur, he is from Ukhrul. So Ukhrul means he is a Naga, Churachandpur means he is a Kukki. I thought to myself, their militias are fighting and killing each other back. But here they are sticking together. So identity is like a jelly. The jelly, when it sort of, you throw it out of the bottle, it changes color sometimes. Yeah? A marmalade, that kind of thing. So identity is something which can change. And in times of stress such as this, it's only expected that, your identity will be your ethnic identity. You know what? They say, oh, in Calcutta, they'll say, ye Bihari hai. But in Bihar, he's not a Bihari, he's a Thakur, he's a Kurmi, he's a Jadhav. So, when it comes to Bengal or other parts of India, he becomes a Bihari. He does not become a Bihari in Bihar. So that's what identity is all about. It's like a bit of modern art where you mix 5 different colors, throw it on the floor and drive a cycle over it. And it takes different forms at different times depending on what kind of mixing you have done and what kind of cycle you are driving over it. You understand?
I have a question for Mr. Yashovardhan Azad. Azad sir, I have a question for you. Army may stabilize the issue, but how do you deal with so many refugees that have been created in the state? And sir, why Churachandpur continues to be a flashpoint? Even today, reports have come for violence. Why has Churachandpur become
Kukki domination, I guess?
Why has it become a epicenter? Azad sir.
Well, you're talking about the upper reaches, and where definitely it's more difficult to operate than on the plains. And mind you, the All India, that Solidarity March took place in that particular area only. So the strength and the angst was very, very strong in that particular area. And I wish the security forces had been looking at that very, very seriously. And I would say that this reaction and counter reaction would become a serious matter if it is not controlled right now. And for operation wise, I would still again maintain that it's more difficult to operate in the hill areas than in the plains areas. So, and I do hope that they're able to control it very, very soon. But the point about the weapons still stands. You must be able to account for all the weapons.
Absolutely. Let's play the bite of the minister who spoke on the issue of weapons, Minister of Information of Manipur.
Public Relations of Manipur, Cabinet Minister Let's listen into what that minister had to say, and then we'll continue this discussion.
I would say, fortunately, with the blessings of the people of our state and with God's blessing, that peace has come to Manipur, and we are almost reaching, the end towards normalcy. And yes, the tension that the people has been having for the last few days has drastically decreased. The confidence of the people we can see in their ways now. And yet, with minor here and there, the rumors that's been coming around, people have, accepted that this as rumors. As you can see, curfew was relaxed in most of the districts today, and people have come out. Normally, people have come out to buy their normal stuffs, whatever they need, and have gone for their, daily course that they needed to go. And but from the government side, with the surveillance is still on, we are still very making sure that there is no untoward incident. Drones are being used, helicopters are being used, and even unmanned aerial vehicles are being used across the state, so that as I've said, no untoward incident takes place. In fact, we are stressing more on the free movement of the stranded people across our state, and whatever help that needs to be given are being provided by the forces, and ultimately, and again, another thing is the recovery of arms, which we are very, very, very seriously looking at it. Yes, since yesterday, a few more arms have recovered, and it's an earnest appeal, and it's an appeal by the Honorable Chief Minister that better, please, surrender the arms. This is an appeal, it's an earnest appeal, please surrender the arms, or else the law will take its own course as per the needs. And as of now, the relief camps at smallpox, many relief camps, it's an approximately 209. And today approximately 5,300 people have been evacuated from different places at in many areas. And today the Honorable Chief Minister, he personally went to Komal Lampak, where people were being brought in, and then he interacted with the people, making sure that they have been properly checked medically. He personally intervened and to make sure that relief have been given. He also went to the Lamphel CRPF headquarters, head office, where this people are there in relief camps, to assure them all will be fine. All needs will be taken care of by the government. All houses that have been burnt will be taken care of by the government, and to make sure that they are there, safe, sound, and in a very proper way.
I have a question to you, Dada. There are a lot of unconfirmed reports coming that firefighting has taken place in Churachandpur. Gun action has taken place. Dada, if there is so much of deployment, how can gun action take place in Churachandpur? And the second question I am opening up for all my colleagues, to you, to Azad Saab, to Krishna, to Brijesh, is time for Biren Singh over? Dada.
Okay, first question first. How has reports of firing come in? As Azad Saab was rightly saying, in the hill area, even with the heaviest of deployment, area domination is a huge challenge because of the terrain. In the plain land, a company of soldiers can easily dominate up to 5 square kilometers quite easily, because they can go up and down the main road, looking here and there, pointing their guns, good enough to scare people down. In the hills, they can't do it, because if they are not in sufficient numbers, and because the insurgents are there in the hills, they can be ambushed. So they have to have sufficient numbers to take out a patrol, which in such times are not very easy, because numbers are in short supply, even with the heaviest possible deployment, because a lot bigger area has to be dominated in the hills, which is not populated, where there are jungles and the terrain is difficult. This is number one. And therefore, you also have to keep in mind that the government of India had suspension of operations with so many Kukki rebel groups. There are a large number of these Kukki rebel groups who are armed. In such times, because the suspension of operation agreement, does not mean anything to anybody now. These fellows can take up their guns and go and attack here and there. And that's why we can hear reports of firing. Who they are firing at, I don't yet know. So that explains this.
Okay.
And the second question, sorry?
Okay, so I'll tell you, Dada, before you take the second question. Molfei and Mafu Dam areas was the place where the attack has taken place.
That's right. This is a very, very difficult area. Molfei and Mafu Dam, this is a very big area because there the river takes a drop, it's hills, it's difficult vegetation, and if the security forces are in the area, they will be trying to defend the existing dam rather than go out and take area domination patrols into the jungles because they don't have sufficient strength to both defend the dam, which is a static target, and also go out and do area domination to scare the troublemakers off. So they would be short of people, and therefore they would concentrate on defending what is obvious, which is the big dam and some of the other establishments in the area. Which means what? When you tie down the security forces into static deployment like defending a dam, defending other establishments, you don't do area domination patrol, which is required to chase the insurgents off from an area. This is standard counterinsurgency realities. And therefore, these insurgents would be in the hill areas, they have bases in these areas, and they would be coming out and they would be trying,
Okay.
if there are some
And the
population,
question,
they would be
Dada,
trying to.
is Biren Singh's time up now? Is his time up now? This question has come on our chat box.
I think you should ask Mr. Modi and Amit Shah that question, that what is your priority? You don't want to give the media a leverage which is criticizing your performance there. Is that your priority? You don't want to give, any critic, any mileage by saying that, your government has failed. If that is your priority, Biren Singh will stay. If these guys at the top, they want to punish an obvious failure, as they did in Tripura, then of course Biren Singh will have tough time ahead. I don't think his time is yet up. It will take another 10-15 days to realize that, depending on two things. A, how the situation now pans out. If it subsides, then Biren may have a breather. If it doesn't subside and this continuous firing here, idhar marpit, udhar marpit, escalatory mode is there, then he has trouble justifying why he can't control the situation. Or maybe, he will have trouble justifying that you have, taken the situation to such a pass that with so much army and all that, it can't be controlled. Secondly, how the internal BJP factionalism pans out, where there are people sitting in Delhi. There are strong contenders like Radheshamji, who I know personally, was a super cop and all that. And he would actually go out and tell people like Amit Shah, time you put a senior officer like me in the saddle if you want to control the law and order, not an Havildarji. So these things are going to be there, you see. So these are two factors on which, we have to see whether Biren's time is up or not. Number one, how the factionalism in BJP pans out. Number two, how this whole crisis pans out. Does it subside somewhat, or does this more smoldering ruins, continue to burn? These are the two factors on which Biren's future will depend. I don't as yet think this is time for final pronouncement. We'll have to watch. But if the factionalism spins out of control, and don't you forget, BJP has a thin, slender majority in Manipur, 32 guys, in a 60-member house. So they can't actually risk too much. So, and here is a case where it's not just the tribal MLAs who may be upset with Biren who will gun for him. There are aspirants who want the big jobs, the big posts, among the Meitei communities who will point that this man is a failure. So you change the leadership. If this grows, if this whole thing grows, then even the center and even people like Modi and Amit Shah will have to take a call.
Okay.
But Kartikeya, with the Biren Singh thing is there that, that he very rightly said that it'll depend on how long this crisis goes on. Because, the fact is, if you go by what is there in the chat box, if you go with the kind of conversation you have with people in and around Manipur, the narration is that that he's not being seen as a chief minister of Manipur, but he's being seen as a chief minister of Meitei community.
Yeah.
And there's a massive dissatisfaction from the Kukkis and the Nagas, and given the way the entire thing is panning out, I think there's a erosion in the leadership capability of Biren Singh, and it is being amplified also within the party. As Dada was very rightly pointing out, it's not like as if they have a massive brute majority which can overcome any storm. We have also seen 5-6 MLAs sitting there in Delhi saying that they are not happy with the way things are run in the state of Manipur, and after that this kind of crisis which has unfolded, it puts Biren Singh in a very, very precarious situation. It will be very interesting to see how this pans out, because it hasn't left, because you have to also consider one factor, Kartike, that the BJP has been very, very gung-ho. The top leadership of the BJP is very gung-ho about their Look East policy, which is about the kind of penetration they have made in the northeastern state. And I think what is happening or flashing before your screens as our viewers are watching it is something which has dented that narration quite a bit, and I think the BJP would definitely not want that to dent it further.
I have a Krishna. Can I ask a question? I have a question for Mr. Yashowardhan Azad. So thank you, Krishna. Mr. Azad, my question to you is: there is a complete collapse of administration in rural areas. We are seeing these visuals. We'll be playing out fresh visuals from Imphal. You will be surprised to see people being pushed inside the truck and they are leaving. This is a demographic change is taking place in Manipur, and no one is talking about it in Delhi, as if the national press has gone completely blind. They are more, it's like more tuned to the headlines, which are more about like an evening chat. But this is the real disaster unfolding in front of our eyes.
Humanitarian crisis.
It's a humanitarian crisis within India. People are being directed towards refugee camps, and that's about it. I mean to say, in a small state like this is creating an ethnic reconfiguration. लोग अपनी जगह जा रहे हैं. There will be 300 Manipurs within Manipurs. Mr. Azad.
Yeah, Kartike, I want to mention a few other points also along with this. I've been feeling right since the morning that the entire TV channels are covering only Karnataka or Shinde's in the Supreme Court. It's so tragic. And I was extremely happy when I was asked to participate on your. At least there's one channel which is looking after Manipur, one of the critical states we have right on the border, and where such a a human tragedy has unfolded. And as I see the picture in front, people with their pattas and taking food, and even the minister announcing that evacuation is still being done, I think is the most tragic part. This is what we call ghettoization after communal riots, that people going into their areas where the ethnic community is more strong. And this will create a...
Azad sahab, sorry I am interrupting you. Evacuation कहाँ होता है? Evacuation कहाँ होता है? Evacuation Israelis ने इंटाबे से अपने citizens का किया था. हिंदुस्तानी सूडान से अपने लोग वापस लाते हैं. एडन से इंडियंस आते हैं. यूक्रेन से evacuation होता है. यहाँ evacuation शब्द का इस्तेमाल अपने देश में कर रहे हैं. We have ended up creating refugees in our own country.
Exactly. And that is why I said this evacuation is happening back to their own, where their own community is strong, within the same area and within the same state. So I think this is a tragedy of, incalculable, dimension. The second point which I want to say is that, of course, this is a great failure on the part of the state government that, this kind of tragedy where 50 to 60 people have died. So, but I still maintain, Kartikeya, that this is not really, a political change is not going to solve it. Biren Singh may be there, may not be there, is not an issue. The issue is that something needs to be done immediately because those wounds are still festering. The issues are really hard-boiled. And the main point here is that in India, if you see, there is too much emphasis on the caste history, tradition, ideology, and the legacy, and which we keep talking about and we keep stressing, whether it's in literature, whether it's in history, whether it's everything. And the issue about the common symbol for a state, common symbol for the country doesn't come in unless we go outside or the state people are within the country. And this has led to a lot of problems. And that is why even in Delhi, there is a kind of a shift after every communal conflagration takes place. This is exactly which needs to be avoided in Manipur. Operationally, if there are too many troops deployed in static locations, obviously they'll have less.
Azad Sahab, I'm just stopping you. These are the visuals of Imphal, and we'll play
Yesterday's
them.
visual?
These are yesterday's visuals. This is the capital.
From where evacuation is being taken place.
I mean, so where are they being evacuated? That's the question I'm asked. Are they
People being loaded onto trucks.
They're jumping on the trucks, because they also want to leave the area.
Mr. Azad, you were saying something.
I was saying that this kind of evacuation is right now temporarily going to the army camps or CRPF camps, because obviously you can't find a place for them immediately. I was told that there are about 200 relief camps, as per the minister had said. But at this rate, the relief camps numbers will be going out. I don't think they'll be able to accommodate this much. And finding a place in some other areas would be difficult. So this is just an evacuation temporarily again, hoping that they would be coming back from where they are being evacuated.
Right. Again, more disturbing visuals coming in from Manipur, Imphal, the capital. These are yesterday's visuals, the 10th of May, of people.
Maybe yesterday, day before yesterday. I just want to like to make it clear, because these are visuals of last 48 hours.
Yes.
We can't put a timer to it, because the internet is not functioning in Manipur.
Yeah, bear in mind.
Please bear in mind.
Services are still down.
These are
in
authentic
Manipur.
visuals. These are authentic visuals, original visuals,
verified visuals.
Verified visuals. These are verified visuals. So these are authentic verified visuals, but there might be a time lag.
Right. And these visuals tell a very, very tragic story of people, who are just being taken to a camp, not knowing when they can return.
One more thing I would also like to point out right here in the discussion is that the fact is that whenever this kind of displacement happens, it is we have to revisit the story after, say, a 15 days, 20 or 20 days, when we see the situation, whether the situation has returned to normalcy, whether all of these people who have now taken refuge, because, see, once this kind of tragedy unfolds, the immediate concern of the authorities is also to make sure that there's no more loss of life and this thing. And that is the reason why, they are boarded to the nearest safety area, which is, in this case, is army and the CRPF camps. And once the shifting has taken place, only...
I think there should be.
I think the important thing here is that just to tell our viewers that it's taking time for us to access these visuals. People should understand that there is an internet ban in Manipur, and this internet ban is like a blanket ban, and we are finding it very difficult, but these visuals are telling us a story. It is like when you cover war in Rwanda. It is like when you go to Syria. You can't do 24/7 business of putting people's misery on table. But what we are trying to show you is that this was the panic in Manipur. This was the panic in Imphal, and this was the real stage where the character or the administration completely dissolved. Dada, am I audible to you?
Yeah, you are audible to me. Can I come in?
Yes, you can come in. Please respond.
You guys are terribly surprised with these visuals. I have seen these pictures, these kind of pictures in Northeast since 1980s. I've seen Assam, I've seen riots in Tripura, violence in Manipur, and these are cookies who are being taken. You look at the sunlight, and I'll tell you this is around 3:34, because in the morning the Meitei mobs might have been out, security forces have driven them away, and now they've gone in the area with the microphone. Any cookies here, and you see the rush with which they are coming out and boarding the vehicles, and they are being taken to some transit camp by the security forces, which Azad Sahab was referring to. Then they will be moved to some temporary camp and finally to Churachandpur if they want to go there. So I can actually get a clear picture. I have seen these visuals, these kind of stuff. Not you and a joint BBC with the camera man around. I've seen this kind of stuff since 1980 because these things happened and has happened every now and then in the India's northeast. You know, I've seen riots. I've covered Delhi, 1983. Yeah, kuch bhi nahi hai. 1,600 Bengali Muslims were killed in one night. Can you imagine? I've seen Gopur during the Assam agitation. I've seen Banda in Tripura.
I think Dada, fair point. Dada, you wanted to come, that's a very fair point. But the question which we are coming back to again and again is to report the story as it is happening, to report the story as it has happened, try to get authentic visuals for our viewers because this story has been ignored by mainstream press. It has been ignored by people in Delhi.
There are two kind of tragedies, Karthik, which is
just let me
unfolding.
complete, Bijesh. I'm really sorry. And this story has been ignored by those who think that, you know, the only controversies make for good stories. This is a real story. That is why we have taken our time out to ensure the authenticity of visuals, authenticity of information. That is why we have not come out with the details of the gun battle, alleged gun battle which took place in Churachandpur today, in which some casualty numbers are there, but we are not going there unless and until it comes from army or the armed forces. But the point is, how have we ended up creating refugee camps in our own country?
Well, you know, Karthik, see, I'll tell you, there's also, you have to also understand a situation. What do you do with the people? Do you leave them to be killed, or you do a makeshift arrangement for them to be shifted safely up to a point where, you know, once the situation improves, you again send them back to the places from where they have come. I think, you know, that aspect has also to be looked in. It's not like, you know, this battle has been, this thing has been going on for a very long time, and, you know, those refugee camps have kind of become a permanent refugee camps for those people. I think, you know, the first task of armed forces and most of these, whether it's Assam Rifles or Indian Army, is to ensure that there's no more loss of life. And that is the reason why, you know, whenever you have this kind of situation, you are shifted to the nearest safest place, in this case being the camps of the Indian Army and also the CRPF camps. I think, you know, we will come to the situation of whether we have created refugee camp or all. After some time, you know, if the violence persists, then only this question becomes the most important question is, when is the situation returning to a normalcy of a level where all those who have taken refuge, you know, decides to go back, or center or the state administration feels that the situation has come to a level where they can actually go back to their position.
Right, Brijesh Pandya, political editor, putting things into perspective along with Kartikeya Sharma as well. We will continue our coverage of Manipur here on News9, and Kartikeya, you were telling us something.
Yes, you know, most of the questions are again coming on, you know, separate administration. There are a lot of people with real names, there are a lot of people with pseudo names, you know, but then separate administration, the recurring themes of separate administration.
Separate administration also is, you know, Yashovardhan ji very aptly said that, you know, that politicians and religion and all should not be there. But the fact is that, you know, in Manipur, I think Biren Singh has acquired a tag of a Meitei CM. And going by the intense rift, or which we are witnessing between the Kukkis and the Meiteis and Nagas, I think, you know, this being branded as a Meitei chief minister, and also, you know, the ethnicity of all those MLAs who are from the BJP and who went to complain about you know, of how Biren Singh is running his administration, they are also from the Meitei, from the Kukki tribe. So I think, you know, there is a growing anger against the ethnicity of the chief minister, and herein also lies the problem, because most of these people are blaming that the reason why they have been taken on is because of that.
I completely agree with you. I think, you know, it's, you know, buck stops with Biren Singh. You know, if this would have happened any other mainstream state, the sort of violence which has taken place in Manipur, I think the chief minister head would have been on line. But this violence has taken place here, and right now, since the issue is of actual governance and ensuring the safety returns, it is, I think, for this reason, you know, the whole focus of BJP and other setup within the government is to ensure that, you know, people are in safe zone and they come back. But I would say that this is not about that. What about the students, their exams? You know, there are so many important issues. I think all those issues will be taken up subsequently. But my only, you know, before we close in our session, Dada, my question to you is, do you think, as Krishna said, I'll steal that idea from him, will Manipur be same again?
It will be same again if there is an imaginative political leadership who comes in. But before I answer your question, let me correct you on 2 points. You guys are using the word refugee very casually. Refugees are those who come from across the border. So Myanmarese refugees coming into Manipur are refugees. This is a case of internal displacement. In the UN definition, internal displacement is absolutely different. And Sir Francis Deng, who was a very big official of the UN, actually created a guideline for internal displacement because I've done considerable work on this
Correct
subject.
myself, Dada.
So,
I correct myself. Internal displacement. But the larger point, I correct myself. There is no point arguing. The point just trying to make myself was that whenever these disturbances take place, whenever the internal displacements take place, they recreate geographies. जैसे बॉम्बे में होता था कि जो माइग्रेशन होता था हिंदू मुसलमान का, जब दंगा होता था तो मिक्स्ड लोकेलिटीज खत्म हो जाती हैं और वो जो होमोजेनियस लोकेलिटीज है वो बड़ी होती जाती हैं. दादा, that was my limited point, nothing more.
yeah, it actually leads to what can be called, demographic stratification, which is basically like this, that there were mixed people, there were 10 Muslim houses, or rather in Manipur terms, 10 Meitei houses and 5 Kukki houses. Now all this, because these 5 Kukki houses are feeling threatened, they are going to move out of Imphal and go to Churachandpur, and a lot of Meiteis from there are going to come here. So in effect, you will lead this situation unless controlled and unless mixed populated areas can, come back to life, you will have a partition of Manipur in silent way. There won't be a formal partition, but ethnic boundaries will be turned, which are now loose boundaries, will become hard boundaries, and at some point will take administrative shape. At the moment, it is like this. ये mixed मोहल्ला है, 5 Kukki लोग हैं, 10 Meitei लोग हैं. Tomorrow there will be no Kukki left here because they have gone to Churachandpur. Same thing will happen in Churachandpur. No Meiteis left there. And then what happens is what is a loose frontier, a loose ethnic frontier, will become a hard boundary. And this happens between nations, this happens within nations, this happens within a state of the nation. So it's all depending on 2 things. Will Manipur be the same again? It can be if there is imaginative leadership. No, if you have the kind of leadership that we have seen so far. So answer is very simple. You have the biggest of challenges which can be tackled with imaginative leadership. You have the smallest of challenges which spin out of control because the leaders are a bunch of fools. And I'm sorry to use a strong language, but sometimes that's the case. At the end, I'll still explore this idea which Azadji was also alluding to. Let's have a peace march with the icons of Manipur. Mary Kom, Kunjarani Devi, all kinds of sports people, Gauramangi Singh, Shur Kumar, Biren Singh, the great footballers of Manipur, the weightlifters, the boxers. Why Dinko Singh? Why can't we get these guys to start a march from Imphal to Churachandpur, guarded, of course, by the Indian Army, but discreetly, and let them come out with appeal holding the placard, and also bring some good, people like Bina Lakshmi Nefram, who runs the Gun Survivors Network, brilliant girl, my dear sister. What is her target? Says wives of insurgents also die, wives of policemen also die. She is putting together people who have survived the gun. So these are women of police and extremists whose husbands fought, but they don't fight. They get together in one place and try to create some vocation. So bring in Bina Lakshmi Nefram, bring in Yambem Lava, the very good journalist, bring in Pradeep Fanjawam, the icons of Manipur, Ratan Thiam, the great theater personality. You don't have somebody like him in India now at the moment, if he's still, around and in good shape physically. There are any amount of icons. The ratio of icons in Manipur is big. Culture, sports, everywhere. Bring these guys out. Don't put the politicians in front. They are discredited. Unko bola piche khade ho jao. Mary Kom will lead the march, one side, Kunjarani Devi, one side, and ladies leading it. You know why? I'm a great believer in gender politics. Women can actually cool down tempers because they suffer the most. Men fight with each other and create the problems. Men are predators, women are procreators. They have a better grasp on the situation. So I will also request, that some national figure should go there. If you remember, when the terrorists who had hijacked the, aircraft, Indian Airlines aircraft to Kandahar, they wanted a senior Indian politician to go there. I have it on record. Mamata Banerjee offered us. Mujhe kuch nahi hoga, mujhe jaane do. She is a brave lady. She has a lot of problems.
Dada, we are
but take somebody like these people and start a peace march, man, to bring peace. But peace alone not enough.
Absolutely, that peace march is the need of the hour, and our coverage here on News9 Live will continue. So stay tuned to News9 Live for the latest updates on Manipur. Fresh violence has erupted. You can log into our YouTube streams. You can ask questions. You can answer the poll questions that we've put up over there. Our coverage of News9's coverage of Manipur will continue through the day. Stay tuned for the latest updates. So you can go to youtube.com/@News9Live and get the latest updates on Manipur all through the day until we find peace in Manipur.
Khoi akhoi le kai di chu thole to akhoi le kai di chu. Salao lo nungai salao lo noi.